Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm Kevin Popp, the Colorado First Lego League partner, and this is my son. He's the reason I got involved 9 years ago. He has been on First Lego League teams every year except for this year. In 1 year he skipped because he thought he was too old. He has way more experience than I do. He has plenty of experience in the judging room. I have coached teams and I have been a volunteer judge. So hopefully between the two of us, we have some wise, sage advice to give you guys. I do ask that anybody willing to go ahead and put their camera on, since we're in front of everybody. I'd like to see your faces and see your questions, but you don't have to. I had to drag him to come down and be on video. So
it's true.
We both try to avoid it at all costs, but my modeling career didn't pay off. So we're going to get started here, and I'm going to hopefully share the correct screen. All righty. Does everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Good. To the control window here. Awesome. All right. Here we go. So the first thing that's very important, and this is changes for the season. Of course, due to the COVID-19 virus, everything's being done remotely. If things work out well, we'll be able to do the state championship in person, but for now, all qualifying tournaments are remote. And we'll use Ring Central like we are now to do those presentations. And your team can either do it together or be in separate locations, logging in and presenting. So this alone that we're doing now, and all the other Zoom and other meetings you guys have all attended and your children have attended, are pretty good practice for what we'll be attempting for the tournaments. But the next part is teams will have one 30-minute judging session covering innovation project, robot design, and core values. That is a change that first made before the virus came into play. That was something they were piloting over the last few years, and they have decided that that is a little bit less stress overall on the teams. You go in, one shot, you're done. I haven't experienced it myself yet, so it'll be a little bit, once we go back in person places, it'll be a lot more to haul down the hallway and do all at once. But at least now you guys can have it all at your home and present it all. And so let me go into more detail of what happens during that 30-minute session. The team has 2 minutes to say their highs with the judges, kind of introduce themselves. They have 5 minutes, and it's still the same strict 5 minutes to present your innovation project that it's always been. So team should create a script and have a presentation that details their innovation project, and that presentation lasts 5 minutes. Then the judges will ask questions for 5 more minutes. Then the team will move on to doing a robot design presentation, how they built the robot, why they built the robot, what kind of missions. We'll go into more details about that going forward. And then there'll be 5 minutes of Q&A on robot design. And additionally, there will be 3 minutes of discussion about core values. So you want your team to share all their experiences and their knowledge of core values and how they've lived that out throughout the season. And then the last 5 minutes are feedback from the judges. So your team, we scheduled a time slot for their judging, just like it would be in a tournament, where everybody logs in, the judges log in, and you guys all will talk for 30 minutes. So some kind of pointers for online judging. And it's not always easy to do. I even tried to make a Lego contraption, I forgot where I put it. But at my work spot, I have multiple monitors, and I tried to make a Lego holder for my camera that would drop it right in the middle of the screen, so that when I'm talking to people in a Zoom meeting, I'm looking them in the eye. I'm not even doing it now. So you gotta look right at the camera, and that's them looking them in the eye. So it's not an easy thing to train, but it makes a much bigger impact if you're looking them in the camera to their eye rather than looking down at the screen.
Hey, Kevin, can I
Yes,
interrupt for 1 second, Kevin?
absolutely.
We're having some people that are having some difficulties hearing you clearly, that it's a little bit crackly.
Oh, that's
as I'm
me.
talking, if it's
That's not even the computer.
okay, maybe that'll help.
Let's see. Try to scooch closer. Let me know if this is any better.
It's better right now. That's
Awesome.
Thanks,
Okay,
Kevin.
so, and it's a good pointer. It's actually in my list here is come closer to the camera so the judges can see what you're pointing to, and also make sure you're close enough to the mic so that we can hear everybody. So I just got to practice that right now. Make sure you eliminate background noises of heaters, fans, dogs, vacuums, whatever during the presentation. You don't really want anything that distracts from the judging sessions. No. And then it'd be great if you consider ways to present that will work out well over video. One of the best things that works is like doing a newscast. And so if you guys are all in separate locations, or even a few members are in separate locations, you can say, okay, now onto our reporter on the street, Mary, and then she can join in from her home. So that's one option. Kids are way more creative than I am about this. So if they need to be in separate locations, you have to work that into your presentation style for your innovation project and, well, for all of your judging. And coaches or team members may share their screen. So as I'm sharing now, if you have stuff you want the judges to see, you can do that. But we also will have a place online before your tournament where you can upload documents for the judges to review before and during the competition. Things to consider when presenting. Connor covered this. Come on.
You want to present yourself as confidently as you can. You want to limit the amount of ahs that you use. You want to be energetic, exciting, and passionate.
That's better.
And if you, it's better to memorize the script so that you can be confident and understand what you're saying. But if you don't have time to do that, or it's hard, find creative ways to put the script in places, such as on the backs of people, on the backs of poster boards. For this, you could put it next to the computer.
Those are good ideas and things you've tried. And at all times, I know there's a lot of, judging is always stressful. And teams, as much as you practice, and I recommend practice, practice, practice. But as much as you practice, you will never feel ready. But practice does make it to where at least you feel less stressed and you're more prepared to be flexible if you forget something, then you just adapt. And it has happened to Connor's team in the past. And so if everybody knows all parts of the script and have all been involved in the project and know all aspects, and that's the way it should be. Each team should be able to answer any question the judges have, and they should be able to fall back if one member forgets their lines, that another person can come in and fill in the gap. And of course, at all times, be respectful of your teammates and your judges. Everybody's there. We've all worked hard. It's supposed to be a fun day. Don't forget to have fun. For innovative project judging, Connor, go ahead and explain why read that first one to the crowd. Explain it.
So you want to make sure that you understand the rubric that the judges will be looking at as well as you can, and present it in a way that is easy for the judges to mark off what you've done well. This helps the judges with their judging and helps you make sure that everything in your project is what is required and necessary, and helps you structure it more efficiently.
See if I can pull it up. Um, let's see if I can. There you go. So hopefully you're all seeing the rubrics. I do have a link in this slot in this PowerPoint, and hopefully everybody will get it. Oops. Yeah. So there's one page for each category: core values, innovation project, robot design. This is what the judges fill out. This is what you get back. This is your feedback form. It is best to learn this, study this, and basically build your presentations based on these categories. In fact, teams that have gone on to World Festival and come back have taught us that it is best to not only present the images, do your presentation well and cover all the subjects, but actually do it in order of the rubric. So for innovation project, you want to identify your problem that was clearly defined, and well researched. And so if you want to be able to advance the state championship and beyond, and you want to make sure you're, at least in accomplished, if not into the exceeds expectations. So, you want to have fully clear definition of the problem and a wide variety of and quality of research. Talking to experts. Can't just say, hey, we did YouTube and expect to go on to the World Festival. So make sure you guys study this, read this, and follow this.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
You're breaking up again. Can you do whatever magic you did a few minutes ago to make it nice and awesome clear?
Look at the mic.
There you go. Awesome.
I was looking over at the screen I'm presenting, and so then I'm talking somewhere else. Sorry.
Those aren't very good presentation skills.
No,
guys.
they're not. They're not. Sorry about that, people. Okay. Like it says, never fake it. If you don't know the answers, just tell the judges, hey, we'll get back to you on that. And lots of times teams spend more time and effort on their skits and their costumes than they do on the actual facts. So they need to focus on the facts first and present those facts. Generally, you'll know you've done a great job at the end of a presentation when the judges can't think of any questions because you've already covered every element on the rubrics, presented it to them, and they're like, great. I don't know what to ask. Otherwise, then we'll have plenty of questions about areas that are in need on your presentation. My slides go. Okay.
There I am.
So, tips for robot design judging. The team needs to share their design, strategy, and programming accomplishments. And they want to explain the progression of what's changed over the season. If you just walk in and show the judges the robot and say, this is what we built, really a whole lot of what the team has learned and done throughout the season revolves around that frustrating little robot. So we want to know what problems you ran into, how you solved them, what did you do to make your missions work more reliably, which ones did you struggle with, and how did you work on trying to fix that? What missions did you pick and why? For newer teams, I would say pick missions closer to base, missions that appear easier to do. Um, and also explain your choices. Why did you pick a big wheel or a skinny wheel, or why did you decide to do the missions in the order you did? So you guys have 5 minutes to present to the judges. Now, in early years with me and Connor and his team, I would always try to convince them to make a presentation for their robot design. In the past, we used to have the competition tables in the judging room, and kids would just walk in with their robot and start showing it off to the judges. Well, last year that rule got changed so that we don't even put a table in the room anymore, so that kids spend more time explaining their engineering, showing their programming, how and why they built the robot the way they did. So that kind of forced the hand of teams to do a better job of making a presentation. Because you just walk in with your robot and expect to answer questions of the judges control the meeting. You want to control your team, actually, wants to control the meeting. Go in with prepared information. This is our robot, Billy Bobby. He can do this, that, and the other thing, and here's why we think he's sturdy. We added extra cross members here. We use these wheels for this reason, things like that. So I'm being poked to move on. Okay, so I'm going to show you here a little bit of video about recording matches because this will be, we will do actually a practice run. I think Catherine knows the answer to this, but it's like, I think on the Monday before your tournament, you will submit a 2.5-minute run of your practice match. That way we can make sure your robot fits into the specs, your mission board is proper, and help you troubleshoot any issues you may have. I'm not really troubleshoot your design or missions, but we will give you feedback on if you were running the missions correctly, if there are any technical details that were problems, presenting it, showing it. So you'll upload a single unedited video of your match before, during, and after with no pauses. Make sure you keep recording. I won't read this whole document to you. There is an attached PDF for it. And the next slide actually has a video that will play here.
You will upload a single unedited video. Start recording before the match, continue during the match with no pauses, and continue after the match to show the whole field. The type of camera you choose does not matter. If your team doesn't have walls to compete with, you can use black tape instead. Important note, the intention is for the robot to stay on the mat. The only place your robot can drive off the mat is into the home area. Make sure your field is completely set up. Your robot and all its equipment fits into one of the inspection areas. And show everything measures under 12 inches. Show your robot has a maximum of 4 motors. Show your innovation project if you have one. Choose your camera position. Here are some good examples of where one might stand when recording the match. Important note, check that your entire robot is in the launch area before you launch. Try to get a good camera angle from this position. The camera must show the whole field and home for the entire match. Do not move your camera and keep recording. When you are ready to begin your match, provide a verbal countdown and make sure to keep track of the time. Keep the camera rolling for the remainder of the match. When you stop the robot because it has completed all the actions or because the match time has ended, please state the reason out loud for the camera. Examples. We're all done now. Okay, the match is over. Keep recording. Slowly pan on each mission and outcome. Make sure to focus on each mission where you believe you have earned points. Please narrate your successes and misses. Good luck, teams.
Awesome. Okay. There'll probably be plenty of questions about all that. And we'll talk about the questions as soon as I'm done with 2 more slides. 3 more, I think. So during judging, teams have the option of trying to aim for the Global Innovation Award. That is a little extra effort on the innovation project than teams normally would do. It's an extension to the innovation project, and essentially teams need to explore a little deeper about their problem, their solution, and go above and beyond to explore how their solution becomes real. So they need to research how they can patent it and prototype and start a business and go into the depths of fully vetting out their innovation project, because then they can present it for a Global Innovation Award. And then we will present, I think, our top team and an alternate team to first. And then judges will review all that information. And Catherine will have to help me on this, but I think there's additional submission you guys have to go through. So we'll talk about this more during the Q&A here. But it's in the slide and there's links to more about it so that I'll try to give everything you guys need in one spot. Here are some links. Registration opens on February 6th and closes on February 20th. Those are at midnight. If you click this link, it goes more info about what dates the tournaments are currently set for. All of the qualifying tournaments are remote. And follow this link and you'll find more about them. I've got links to the robot run, recording it with the PDF and the video that I showed. Here's links to all the rules that you may need. That judging session flowchart I showed earlier, score sheets, rubrics, rule books, hopefully most everything you need. If not, you can always ask. And with that, thanks. Nothing else without. Here, Connor, you said, well, I'm looking for a way.
Nothing happens for these kids without you.
There you go. All right. I did it. By the way, I have incredible anxiety about being on video presentations. So does he. But this is practice working through things that are tough. So thank you guys. Look at all the chat questions. So Catherine, you want to add anything as we open it up to Q&A?
Okay, so I've been trying to answer questions as we've been going along in the chat, but I do want to kind of go back over some of those questions because the chat will not be in the recording. And so, but I'm just typing in here. Someone asked about the height requirement. So I just tried to cut and paste from the robot rulebook about the height requirement, that everything has a ceiling of 12 inches in that inspection area. So that's why they were showing that ruler to still show that 12 inches. So
right.
that's in the chat for those of you.
But
right.
Once you start your missions, it does not have to stay 12 inches tall. That's just for the bonus point for everything fitting in the smaller section. As long as your robot fits within base, I don't think there is a imaginary ceiling within the starting area. As long as it fits within the walls and boundaries that are physically there.
There you go. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of run through the questions that we've answered in the chat for the benefit of the recording. So someone helpfully asked if the 30 minutes of judging was all going to happen on the competition day at the remote events, and that is correct. As Kevin said, you will have a 30-minute assigned time slot that you will know about in advance with your judging panel. And then you will all convene in a lovely little ring central room like this. And you can, as Kevin said, be in separate rooms or all together. Someone asked, is it okay to have masks on if your kids are in the same room? And of course, that is perfectly fine, you know? So just tell your kids, like Kevin and Connor said, to really speak up, really enunciate and talk loudly, because those masks are an extra barrier, right? And it's really hard for the judges to hear through that sometimes. So that's something to just keep in mind. Another question was that Kevin also answered later on in the presentation was about the robot runs. You saw that there would be the explanation of your robot design as part of your 30 minutes. And then Kevin talked about your practice run and then your 3 official runs. So it will be just like a regular tournament where you have all of those portions that go together. Let's see. Then, oh, someone asked if the slides were going to be shared. Yes, I will send out the slides to everybody who's participating tonight. Someone also asked about tournament dates. And so, yes, we have confirmed that the 3 remote qualifiers will be Saturday, March 6th, March 13th, and March 20th, with the teams who qualify to go on to state being April 24th. Just to keep in mind with these remote tournaments, it's not just the one day. You will have those submissions that happen prior to that in the week before your tournament, like we talked about with the robot runs, and any optional judging things that you want to send in. Someone asked about recording things versus live things. And generally we tell you that the judges really love to see live. They really love to see and hear the kids. So if you can do everything live, even that 5-minute innovation project presentation, that's what we prefer. If for some reason you're going to record that as like a backup or you know, it's just your preference or it's because of social distancing, whatever, you will have the ability in that week before your tournament to upload that 5-minute video or some additional supporting documentation. So there will be things to do in that week leading up to the date that you pick. So hopefully that makes sense to folks. We also said we'll give you the link to the robot game, how to video the robot game that Kevin just showed you. And Sarah very helpfully put that link into the chat for those of you who are watching and just want to copy and paste that. Okay, so Sarah and Roger are wondering, do the robot games have to be recorded on the same day as the tournament? No, in fact, we want you to record them prior. So like Kevin alluded to, the schedule that we think is going to happen is by Monday night of the week of your tournament, you're going to upload that practice run. The refs will look at it and give you feedback by Tuesday night. Then you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to upload 3 recorded official matches within a 4-hour time frame so that it replicates a tournament as much as possible. And you'll upload those Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday so that it's all in the system before your tournament day. Okay, and then if the refs need to conference with you or you need to conference with the refs after they score your runs, you'll have that opportunity on tournament day, you know, for your official runs. So hopefully that makes sense to folks. Kevin, would you like to talk a little bit about the core values judging? Coach is very helpfully asking that she saw your core values slide, but maybe you just want to kind of emphasize again how we're dealing with that core values judging with this new format.
So while core values judging is a smaller portion during the 30-minute presentation, the entire 30 minutes is your opportunity to display core values. I mean, core values are the heart of the program. So it's everything the kids do and how they react to each other, react to feedback, how they react to technical difficulties, how they react to other kids, you know, bumping into them, stepping on their toes, all kinds of things. All of that is part of being gracious and displaying gracious professionalism. Judges are going to have technical difficulties. Teams are going to have technical difficulties. We're having some funky ones right now. So it's really a 30-minute session for the judges to see how well the kids handle the stress of being in a presentation, being in a meeting. This whole tournament process is the culmination of the entire season. And really, it's the most important thing to never skip out on, because whether your team does great or not so great, no matter how much they practice or didn't practice, there's a lot to be learned from this experience. And sometimes our team has learned the most when we did the least. And then we learned, well, we need to do a better job next year. But either way, there's a lesson learned, and it's a great experience. And core values are the heart of all we do. Uh-oh, son's trying to drive now.
I'm just scrolling down to see the new messages. Oh,
Does that
no.
help
Cause
answer it?
chaos.
I mean, Catherine's
Yeah.
queen
Yep.
of knowing core values, so.
Yep, that's good. So the next question is, do you attend just one qualifying event, and when will you find out if you qualify to move on to state? So I just typed the answer to that question. Yes, each team only attends one qualifying event, and we will find out at the awards or closing ceremonies which teams will move on to state. We are anticipating that those closing ceremonies will be a couple of days after your tournament day, because with these remote events, we want to really double check and make sure we've got everything that we need to make those decisions, that there weren't any technical difficulties, like maybe a team lost total internet connection and weren't able to have their judging session. We want to make sure that we get them judged and in place with everyone at the same time. And then the same percentage of teams from each qualifier will qualify to advance and move on to the state tournament. Kevin, do you want to add anything to that?
No.
Okay, now let's see. Jeannie says the robot game rulebook has updated rules in the back that say the launch height limit was removed this year.
Right.
So is that different from the inspection height limit then, Kevin?
Yes, it is. And I think the launch height limit, was it there last year?
I don't remember.
We're not quite sure if it was there last year, but so the only time a height limit comes into play this season is at the very beginning of the match. You are to put your robot, all its attachments, everything that you use in hopefully the small inspection area, and then hold a ruler up to make sure it doesn't go any taller than 12 inches. If it all fits within the boundaries of that imaginary box, then you receive the bonus for having left.
Okay, I was just starting to type an answer to the next question, but Natalie, I'm just going to go ahead and do this verbally. Natalie brought up a point that may be true for other teams in various ways. Natalie said her students only have access to the robot table and the robot one day every week at the location that they were able to secure for this strange season that we're going through. And so the way that we have this set up with, you know, submitting matches and then submitting more matches would be complicated to work out because of that system. So what I started to say was, we're just all going to have to be as flexible as we possibly can this season, all of us on all sides, because we know you guys are working your tails off to get this season together for your kids. And we want to work our tails off to make sure that they've got some place to celebrate and compete and share what they've done. So if there's situations like that, we would just need to talk with our refs and see, hey, can you submit your practice run a week earlier than we had originally planned, right? And then you get your feedback, and then you're able to do your 3 timed matches the following week. Does that make sense? So really, if you guys have got situations like that going on, can you please just like email us and let us know, you know, get that communication going, so that we can plan ahead and have the time to accommodate you. Kevin, do you want to add anything to that?
You covered it. We will be as accommodating as we can be. Same thing if you have technical difficulties, like I'm having now with my mouth. That was so absolutely. I mean, the most important thing is we want the kids to be able to compete, have fun. So we'll make it happen.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, next question. If during live project presentation, there's a technical difficulty, which prevents the team from kind of carrying on with what they were going to do, would you get another 5 minutes to switch to a pre-recorded presentation? So, Kevin, we're going to answer this one on the fly, and you can negate me or agree or not. But I would think, well, first of all, we're going to be on a pretty tight time schedule on the day of the tournament, and we'll want to be as accommodating as possible. But I think we're also going to have to, if you're having technical difficulties like that, you'd also be having technical difficulties with just answering the questions from the judges, right? And there's 25 minutes of that 30 minutes that's really judge and kid interaction. So it seems like that would be one of those things where we would just have to reschedule your whole judging session, you know, to a time when you have a different technical setup, like maybe even, you know, during a lunch break that the judges have, maybe you found a different technical setup and we can bring your kids back, or, you know, something along those lines. Kevin,
Right.
What do you think?
I think we should kind of slot in some extra judging sessions for technical difficulties, you know, in case this does happen. But it isn't such a bad idea to have a backup plan. So maybe one of the presenters, their video stream went out, so they can't do that, but you have a backup presentation, you know, do that. Have them then just call in or something so we can at least hear them, and you know, we'll be as accommodating as we can. We want all the kids to feel like they got to participate, and everybody should participate. And if you run into technical difficulties like me, where I can't look at the camera enough, I keep looking over there. Practice.
And another
Yes,
thing
if
you
you
might
run
think
into
about,
difficulties, we'll do the best we can, but we also only have a limited amount of time, space, and volunteers as well. So we'll make as much work as we can.
right. And another thing you might think about is some of these situations are a little bit analogous to what happens in an in-person tournament that you don't have control over. Like one time we went to state, and literally at 8:30, my team's getting ready to go to judging, and one of my kids gets sick on the team and has to leave. And he was supposed to be the narrator in our project presentation, like, oh crud, right? And all the kids on my team, it was the best core values activity ever, because all the kids on my team immediately said, Coach, what do you need us to do? And they all broke up into little mini teams and said, I'll take this part, I'll take this part. Can we make a sign that has this part on it in case we forget, since we didn't practice it, you know? And they got it together. So amazing things can happen too when you need it. Okay, next great question. Will there be a setup time for tournament day a set time for tournament day. So again, very similar to an in-person competition is what we're drafting at this point. Probably those judging interviews will be about from 8 until noon, that morning time that you are used to having judge interviews. Only you'll only have to be there for a half an hour of that time. The judges are going to be sitting on the Zoom screens the whole time, but your team will only have to be on for that half an hour, right? Okay. And then in the afternoon, and the referees will be going through all of your recorded runs, but again, you won't be there for that either, right? And then in the afternoon is probably when those referees might come back to you to have some consultation time if you need it, you know, about your robot runs. So tournament day will be the same time for our judges and our referees. For you, it will be less as a team. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Let's see. Will there be a number to contact if there are issues? That is going to be a totally fabulous thing that's on my to-do list, is to figure out how we have a technical support team or something that is a backup for you and for volunteers. I mean, for any of us, right? Mm-hmm. You know, if there's a judge that has a technical difficulty or needs support, or there's a ref that can't pull up the videos that she's supposed to look at, right? So I'm going to be totally honest with you that I don't have that phone number for you tonight, but it's part of the plans that we need a backup for you. Do we have an estimate of the number of teams that you're trying to have signed up for each day? Yes. Based on your awesome, wonderful coach surveys that you all returned, and thank you so much for doing that, we anticipate that there will be about 18 First Lego League Challenge teams per tournament for those qualifiers. So that's kind of where we're shooting for, unless some teams decide that they're not ready and they don't want to compete, or you know, some other teams decide we didn't think we were going to be ready. Do you have space for us? Okay. How far in advance will we know our team's time? So we're planning to get those schedules out, I would say, a week in advance, because we're closing registration about a week in advance. So, you know, about that time frame, we should be able to have everybody plugged in and let you know. Kevin, do you think that sounds about right as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I will assume we will have our team logged into Ring Central and on standby in case there are delays connecting with the judges. Yeah, so the general model that we have worked out right now is that, well, if we can get meeting rooms to work right, like they're supposed to, everybody will come to kind of a waiting room, right? And we'll have maybe 3 teams at a time that come to that waiting room, and you will rename yourself. Is everybody kind of familiar with how to rename yourself? You can go up to your name that's at the bottom of your picture and do kind of a right click on there, and one of the drop down menu items says rename, and you're going to put your team number, and everybody who signs on is going to put their team number and then just like their first name, so that we don't want full names because we don't want to share personal identifiable information, right? But team number and first name, or the judges will say judge and then a first name, and we'll put you into meeting rooms based on that team number, right? And then you'll be in a meeting room with those 3 judges on your judging panel and everybody on your team, no matter how many devices that is for your team, whether it's 1 or 6, right? And you'll have about 5-10 minutes once you get in that room to work through technical, audio, visual. Let's get everything set up. Can the judges hear us? Are we standing too close to the mics? Before your half an hour of time starts. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. If the referees need to reach our team, do they do that by calling a coach or something else? What's the expectation for who from the team is available in that instance? Kevin, again, you can correct me, but I'm going to say that we really like, normally at a tournament, we want to talk to kids, right? But in this case, because we're kind of on this remote deal and the kids don't always have access to stuff, you know, I think it's fine for the referees to talk to a coach if a kid has a question. Maybe there can be a kid and a coach together, you know, if possible, to have that kind of a conference. And I would think that we're probably going to be reaching out to you by your emails. So kind of keep those handy. That's usually the quickest way for us to look you up on there. Kevin, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, you know, maybe if everybody provided their cell phone numbers, we collect that, we can contact them that way. That's what they're, but in this generation, most people have email on their phone. So either way, it should work. You guys are all asking great questions of minor details that need to be fleshed out.
Okay.
So we'll try to tweak the details.
All right. Follow-up question to the above date question. Will there be dedicated time slots given to each team on tournament day and all the teams be available to join the virtual ceremony? Okay. So Anupama, tell me if I'm hearing you right. Are you talking about the awards ceremony? Like the closing ceremony at the end? Yes. Okay. So like I said, that will probably be on another day that's not tournament day. Like let's say the Tuesday after your tournament at 7 o'clock at night or something, right? You know, so that people can kind of come together again on a virtual platform to do those celebrations. And you'll have that set ahead of time. So you'll know to reserve that on your calendar. Okay. Totally agree with Christine and Jonathan. Is there any way we can see what other teams are doing? A lot of the fun in the competition is seeing the other teams' robot runs and projects, maybe a recap video after the competitions. Totally would love to have something like that happen. We're kind of working through the permissions aspect of those types of things to figure out, you know, what we can do to showcase all the awesome, wonderful things that you guys have been doing, and what will work that way. And heck, if you guys have ideas, feel free to send them in to us, because more brains are better, right? So yeah, for sure, we agree with you. That's what I tell kids all the time too. You know, that's one of the best parts of tournaments is the interactions, right? Kevin, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, I do agree that it'd be great to give teams more ability to see what's going on with their other local teams, besides teams that just post YouTube videos of what they've done. So we'll see what can be done. We'll try to work that out. Well, we will, you know, get back to you when we have better details. There's a question about the more advanced notice we can get will help us work out and reserve our space availability. And will the interview sessions be recorded? Let me start with the first half of that question about more of advance notice. If it was a physical tournament, you get your advance notice tournament days, or I mean, we already told you the days of the tournaments. So once you register for a tournament date, so on February 6th, registration opens, you select the date you guys want to be able to do your judging presentations, and it will be in a time slot for that day. I don't really know how much more advance notice we can give you than in a tournament. But,
Does that help? Hopefully.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can give you more than a week's notice because of the fact, at least for the first tournament, for sure. Because for the March 6th tournament, Actually, you know what, Kevin? We did kind of say that we were going to go 2 weeks before March 6th. So
Right.
I can work on it, and we might be able to get 2 weeks for that March 6th tournament. And then we might be able to work on even more for those other tournaments, because I wrote in the chat, I'm really, really hoping that you guys all are getting the Colorado First newsletter every month. If you did not receive it today, please look in your junk mail and see if it got put into junk. If you still don't find it, please email me at programs@coloradofirst.org and we'll fix that situation. But in there, it states that we're opening registration on Saturday, February 6th, and it closes on February 20th for all FLL Challenge qualifiers. So given that, if everything falls together the way that it should, I ought to be able to give you some more advance notice than the week that we just said. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and I will write that down as a let's do that as a goal. Okay. Also, Amanda was just saying another thing that was in that newsletter. $25 is our tournament registration fee for remote qualifiers this year due to the remote nature of the event. So we're really trying to help you guys out and hoping that that is a benefit to you, and it helps you with those registrations. And you'll be able to do that right when you register, just as usual. Okay. And Sarah and Roger, thanks for bringing up the really good point that very thoughtful of you to think about teams that need to make arrangements outside of their houses. They need to make some kind of public place that they can gather for their judging session. And so that advance notice is going to be especially important for them. So thank you for that. That is true. Okay, we are at 8 o'clock. Okay, Dawn and Justin, how many teams expected to be competing? So as I said, if we stick with the coach surveys, that told us there will be 18 teams per tournament, give or take issues, but 18 teams is what we're planning on. And Kevin, can you grab this one from Alicia? The
Right.
12-inch requirement, vertical only, and everything should fit in the home space. Is that correct?
Okay, so on your map, there's a little red line where that half circle is. That is and from there back to the wall to base, the smaller section, and 12 inches up is your imaginary box to fit everything in for the inspection. If you have more stuff than that, it has to fit on the other side of the little red marker, all in the pit beyond the edge of the map. So, and it should be fairly clear. There's even pictures, I think, in the one of the guides, the documentation. I don't know which one right now, but if anybody does know where it's seen, please add a comment in the chat and we can share that. But at the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they've covered it. But it is 12 inches tall, and well, I don't have a map to show you. So really it goes from the, what would that be? That would be the south,
West?
south,
Oh, look,
east,
there's
southwest corner. Oh, hey, look at that. Jeannie's got it. So let me, come on, mouse, wake up.
I don't ever think you can. That doesn't.
I can't
doesn't
share
work
it,
like
but so Jeannie has it. Can you show the page number, Jeannie? Okay, so it's in your guide on 21. What is the front of the journal? The robot game rule book. Okay, there it is. Look in there. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I know that if some of you need to leave, please feel free. We don't want to hold you captive, but I am going to keep going with these questions because you guys are really asking very thoughtful questions. Amanda has brought up another really important, thoughtful point that there are some of you fabulous coaches who coach more than one team. And so when we're making the schedule for those interview times with the judges, We will do our very best to make sure that they are separated and not at the same time. I don't know that there's anybody that coaches more than, well, I'm trying to think how many would be the max that I could totally spread out. But anyway, we will do our best to make sure that maybe there's even a little bit of, you know, time in between the two. If you're a coach that's in that situation where you coach multiple teams and you know that you're going to sign up for the same tournament date, because of course one way to do that is to do different tournament dates, but if you know you're going to sign up for the same tournament date, again, can you email us and just kind of let us know, heads up, you know, this is the situation, and then let me know, do you want to be consecutive or do you want an hour in between the two, so that I can really do what works best for your team's needs, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Wow, you guys had really fabulous questions. Thanks for helping us think through this whole process, because it's new to us too, right? So we're trying to serve you as best as we can, but we need to know what you need. So that's fabulous. We will put this recording up on the Colorado First YouTube channel, and I will send that link out to everyone as well as the PowerPoint presentation. But please know that we really want you to communicate with us and ask us questions, you know, whenever they come up for you and your team, because we want you to feel comfortable and we want you to feel like you know what's coming down the pike. Kevin?
Totally agree. We've worked as hard as we can to try to make it as easy as possible for everybody, knowing that there's plenty of technical issues and logistics that all have to happen to make this work. I thank you guys all for doing the same kind of technical and logistical issues with each of your teams. It is quite the season. It's been quite its challenge on its own. And you guys have, you know, tackled them all. So thank you for sticking it out. You learn a lot in the process.
All right.
Don't forget to have fun.
It's a core value. Awesome. Thank you guys for all the wonderful comments too, as well in the chat. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all that you do. We think you're fabulous and you're rock stars. So thank you.
Thanks,
and I will go ahead and